Greetings. I'm Evan Swenson. I'm an author and a book publisher. I'm also a member of Author Masterminds, sponsors of Readers and Writers Book Club. Welcome to Readers and Writers Book Club. This is the worldwide online general membership meeting of Readers and Writers Book Club, rapidly becoming the book club destination for all readers of good books. Thanks for being here. Today's membership is represented online by Author Mastermind members and other book club members participating on Facebook Live. I hope you'll find every reader is a friend and every author is approachable. Once again, welcome to Readers and Writers Book Club. Of course, we'll be conversing about books, author, writing, and the magic and miracle of reading. And we'll have some fun as we award Readers and Writers Book Club branded door prizes available to all book club members. Okay, let's meet today's co-hosts. Okay, I like that when it comes up, it says, let's meet today's co-hosts. I saw all the co-hosts straighten up and smile. Isn't that nice?
Okay, here we go.
Well, this is going to be a fun meeting today because we're just having conversation today with members of Author Masterminds who are sponsors of Readers and Writers Book Club. And they're all authors, of course, and we're just going to have a conversation, get to know each other better, and get to know Author Masterminds better, and to get to know especially Readers and Writers Book Club. So we're going to be talking about that today. So why don't we do this, rather than me go through all of this introduction stuff, let's maybe start with Texas, and start with the youngest member of Author Masterminds, by the way, Mary Flint. Why don't you introduce yourself, Mary, and then let's go to Marianne Paul, who's also a misplaced Alaskan living in Texas. Mary is also a misplaced Alaskan. She was born in Alaska, now in Texas. I don't know what Texas has got to do with all these things, but anyway, we'll start there, and then Victoria, if you'll come in right after that, Valerie, and then Steve, if you'll come in and be the last cleanup for us.
Okay.
So Mary Flint, you're on. It's your time to talk.
Take off your mute.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Flint. I am the creator of Breathtaking Worlds and Heart Racing Adventures.
Thank you. That was short and sweet. Thank you, Mary. Marianne?
I'm Marianne. That was so short and sweet. I'm Marianne Paul. I'm America's Lady of Supernatural Thrillers. I'm really glad to be here, guys, and hardly wait to hear this conversation. That was a good start, huh?
I'm Victoria Hardesty, author of Action and Adventure with Arabian Horses.
I'm Syl Gregoire. I'm Alaska's sci-fi queen. Hello, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Take
Valerie,
yourself off mute, Valerie.
you have to say, just take it off of mute. Boy, we got you.
Oh, okay. I didn't interrupt after all. I'm Valerie Winans, a writer for readers of all ages, and I also am very happy to be here today, and this is going to be a fun discussion.
I am Steve Levi. I am the master of the impossible crime. An impossible crime is something that can't happen but does, like a Greyhound bus disappearing off the Golden Gate Bridge. And I'm strongly in favor of Readers and Writers Book Clubs, because you're going to see stories and novels and books that are different. And that's the most important thing to keep in mind, is that these are different. These books are different.
Oh, and then we just as I was announcing things, why Rebecca came in and was off screen. I didn't mean to ignore you, Rebecca. I didn't see you there, but now you're here. So let's introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Rebecca J. Wetzler. I am a purposeful overcomer, sharing the fruit of faith. And I have a new computer, so I'm still fixing just a few technical difficulties, like my name is User. But I'm gonna figure out how to fix that. That might have been why you didn't notice me coming in.
Well, that's good. Yeah, well, of course, I introduced myself when we started, but today we're going to be talking about the Readers and Writers Book Club. That was what we promised the club members we'd be talking about today, and there's club members are on Facebook Live. We extended an invitation to some of them if they'd like to join us here, but I suspect that they're a little timid and may not want to come with this auspicious group. You know, they might not feel comfortable. But let's just talk about the Readers and Writers Book Club. You know, as I think I mentioned earlier, if we were together and not in different time zones and different states, and if James was with us in different countries, why, if we were just in the same place and we had a book club, I would probably just say, okay, on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, we're going to meet down at one of the bookstores for our book club, and we'll get down there. And so let's just pretend for a minute that we're down at the bookstore. We just all arrived, and we've just said hello, and we're going to be talking about the book club today. So who's the brave one that would like to start our discussion? And I'm sure that when we go from there, it's going to be fun.
Mary Ann, I'm glad you volunteered.
Hello, I thought Victoria volunteered.
Yeah, I saw Victoria's hand waving around.
Yeah, Victoria really has something to share. I want to share, but let's let her go first. I mean, that girl was ready. Go, girl.
Yeah, I was ready. No, one of the things that I liked about the book clubs, when the book club started, we were posting articles, and the articles that would come out were short. I mean, didn't take long to read, but I'd never been a particular sci-fi nut. And I read a couple of Sills, and I mean, my eyebrows were climbing up here. And so I really wanted to read her books, and they were exciting. That was very exciting. I read articles by every one of them, the author members. I remember one in particular about a dragon that Mary Flynn wrote. Now, I would have never read anything about a dragon. Guess what? I have dragon books on my cell phone now when I sit in the doctor's office because of Mary Flynn and her dragon articles. They were great. And it just kind of also gives you a feel for how another author writes. And that was kind of interesting to me. And it, with the serialized books, now some of the authors that I read the articles from are serializing their books, and I'm finding that I'm just as excited about the books.
Yeah, well, Victoria, you're experiencing the same thing that I experienced as a publisher. I have a genre of the books that I like to read, most of them outdoor stuff.
Yeah.
But as a publisher, I get books from everywhere, from everyone, and I get the opportunity to read them. And so I'm reading books that I would never read otherwise. And of course, you're all here are product of that. And so you're experiencing, Victoria, what I experienced as well as it. I really enjoy other people's writing that I would not do otherwise. I think that is a good benefit of the members, Readers Writers Book Club members.
That's a great perk, actually, because you try something you've never tried before, and you find out, wow, this is kind of fun. So it's worth wasting the time on a book. Well, hello. Not so much of a waste, is it? If you really get sucked in like Seal does. She sucks me in on all of her books.
Yeah, I want to let you, I read a lot of very different things, except Marianne and Mary Flint close to the time I go to bed. But what I'm always looking for is I'm looking for different and I'm looking for good. And I go to the library and I go through all these books and I look at them and I get a whole bunch of books that I check out and I take them home because I think they're going to be good and they aren't. Or I go to a bookstore and wander through and I look at a couple of books that look like they might be ones that I want to read. I pay money and go home and they end up just sitting on my shelf. You know, the reason I like readers and writers so well is because what happens is all of the stuff is there. All of the stories are there and they're all good. And if you don't like this one, you can go on to another one. It doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
And I'm telling you, 90% of the stuff that I read, I get 3 pages into it and go, nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. But what happens is that when you sit there with readers and writers, you get a chance to go through those 3 or 4 pages. All it costs you is a little bit of time. And if you like it, you can keep going. And if you like the author a lot, you can go to Author Masterminds and get a novel. And on Author Masterminds, you can even read 3 or 4 chapters of the novel to see if you like it. But for me, the most important thing is I don't want to waste my time on books that I don't want to read. And with readers and writers and Author Masterminds, I can sit down at my desk and I can go ahead and read it. And if I like it, I can move forward. And if not, all it's cost me is a little bit of time. And I didn't have to drive all the way downtown and fight traffic and get a parking space to go into the library to get books that I'm not going to finish.
So that's kind of a waste. Well, one of the other benefits that, you know, I tell people about is when they join the book club, and the nominal fee gives them 50% discount on every book that's in the warehouse, basically, which is unbelievable because books are expensive. And if you like an author, sometimes you want to get everything they wrote. Well, sometimes that's prohibitive if you go to Barnes and Noble or even Amazon. But to sit down and have the books at a nice discount, you can afford to do it.
I think that certainly everything that Victoria and Stephen have been talking about, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. The motto of Author Mastermind is every reader is a friend and every writer is approachable. And from my perspective, the Readers and Writers Book Club helps make that a reality. It's kind of like a community, a family, where the authors are friends with each other and support each other. And we are more than happy to reach out to readers. We want to connect with readers, email, however, because that just makes us better. So I look at it as a community.
I agree with you. And one of the things, you know, writers need sometimes are story ideas. Well, I write stories about horses. So it's really helpful to hear from people. I want to talk to people. Tell me your story because it might end up in one of my books. I need something to base it on, you know, and
Like,
honestly, a lot of my books are that just like that.
I wanted to kind of go back to what Steve said about getting books and goes through a few pages and like, nah, I don't want to read it. I have a real, I don't know if it's OCD or what, but when I buy a book, especially, it's like, okay, I bought this, I have to read it, whether it's good or not. And I will end up skipping, you know, trying to skip through, speed read, but I'll make myself finish. I think there's only one book I never got through. But so when I've looked at the Author Masterminds books and trying to look at different genres, I was thinking, oh man, I don't want to do that with my fellow author books. But I found it was like, for example, Marianne Paul's Raven's Cove, you know, supernatural, spiritual supernaturals. I thought, oh, I don't know if I can read this, but I actually didn't want to miss one part of the story that's going to mean something further on in the story and further on in the story. And so I didn't find myself, even though I believe in the spiritual realm, and know that some of those things, probably happen out of our sight, thank God. But I did want to finish that story. And another one of our authors that's not here, Carl Douglas, he has written many books, just like Steve, and many different genres. And one of his, Gog and Magog, it was like a 600-page book. And I thought, oh, goodness, how am I going to get through this one? But, I wanted to be committed to my fellow author. And it was so interesting that I just read it in a couple of days and didn't have to keep forcing myself, oh man, I got another 100 pages. I need another 100 pages. It was a very interesting, scary, out of the headlines book. So I've really enjoyed that about our authors, is that they can keep your interest, even if it's not a genre that you would usually pick up and read.
Yeah,
I have
that's,
to agree with
Dawn,
the others. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Sil.
I have to agree with the others. I am such a heavy reader of sci-fi fantasy. And because of the authors in the book club and author masterminds, I have touched genres that I normally would never pick up. I've read something by every one of these authors. And I want to point out that there are a lot of animal lovers in our world here. And we have both a horse whisperer and a dog whisperer. And I have a dog. I love my dog. But reading, I have chose Victoria's book on the serialization, Prince Ali. And it's relating to me how deeply you could learn to love a horse. Now, I've only been on a horse twice in my life, once as a young girl and once as an adult. But I feel the love for the horse that she describes, just like the character, because she does such a good job of it. It's such a wonderful read. And I didn't need Mary Flint to introduce me to dragons, because Mary Flint and I our hearts combine. We both love fantasy and sci-fi, and I've read a lot of dragon stories, and her dragon story on the content area of the book club is really worth going reading.
Yes, it really is. That was a nice piece of writing, kiddo. I thoroughly enjoyed it as a writer. In fact, I have read 7 or 8 books now on dragons, and they're fun.
I'm glad I introduced you to a new fantasy creature.
How can you get a pet dragon now? I've had cats, dogs, chickens, turkeys, peacocks, horses, goats, sheep. I'm ready for a dragon.
Well, if you find any dragons in need of homes, let me know. I'll take one.
Okay.
One of the things that I was involved with recently is, as you all know, that we did a little video about Readers and Writers Book Club. You remember that? And I don't know whether you know it or not, but Steve Levi wrote the script for it. And I was listening to that and watching it again earlier today, and I realized the way that Steve made this script and wrote it. He has a feeling about books that I think maybe we all missed. And I would like to, I got that up here, and I'd like to play that video about it. And when I get through, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to stop it. And then if you have some comments you'd like to make about it, how maybe you feel about books and Readers and Writers Book Club and that kind of stuff, just jump right in. But I'm not going to say anything. So if there's a long pause, that's okay. We'll all be thinking about it. Okay. So I'll see if I can make that work. Let me know if it doesn't work. But if it does, why we'll talk about it. Here it goes.
Reading good books is good for your brain, your career, and every conversation you will ever have. Every page you read changes your life. What you read today will change every other day of your life. Join a book club? Get real. Why would anyone want to join a book club? I mean, there are lots and lots of books out there, so what's a book club going to get me? Well, for starters, a book club leads you to the best books, not just any book. When you go to a library or bookstore, how do you know you're getting a book that's worth your time? There are lots of books out there. Why not get the one you want to read? How do you do that? For starters, why not go to a book club where you can read selections of the book before you buy the book? Even more important, Readers and Writers Book Club offers you a spread of subjects: murder, mystery, thriller, dogs, horses, religious, impossible crime. Today is your lucky day. Readers and Writers Book Club doesn't just offer great books, you can actually communicate with authors. Every reader is a friend, and every writer is approachable. Reading good books is good for your brain, your career, and every conversation you will ever have. Every page you read changes your life. What you read today will change every other day of your life. We look forward to seeing you in Readers and Writers Book Club, where every reader is a friend and every author is approachable.
This may seem silly, but the thought that entered my mind was Readers and Writers Book Club is so special because you don't have to get in your car and drive down to the library or the bookstore or whatever. You can be a Readers and Writers Book Club member in your PJs from the comfort of your couch. You can peruse the many titles and books. You can be a part of the conversation. I mean, it's all good.
You had me at PJs. You really did, Valerie.
Well, what I noticed is that how reading, grows your life and affects your life. I forget the exact way Steve expressed it, but it reminded me that for a while at one of my jobs, we had a book club in our department, reading books about business, of course, but it is true that every book you read gives you another piece of knowledge that you can use in your own experience to make decisions or to meet other people or, strike up conversations with. And so being well read isn't just a cliche. It is something that really makes a difference in your life.
Yeah, it is. And, I wanted to say, I'm not sure, we got a lot of readers, and I'm not sure they realize that they can come on this monthly meeting, every month and visit with us here, as well as chat with us wherever in the book club or on Author Masterminds. Because we don't know how to connect with you, but you should be able to find us much easier than we can you.
There's nothing worse than having a question that
That's
somebody
right.
could help you answer, even if you don't, just because you look at some of my short stories and say, I've always had this question, what do you think? But we're reachable. And if you've got a question, I will try to find the answer, especially if it's in my field. You have to understand that everybody's brain does not work 24/7. 24/7 is an expression, that you would use about working, but your brain is working in many dimensions all the time. And it is the more you put in, the more your brain will start putting pieces together. The people who are in trouble are the people who don't read the newspaper, they don't read magazines, they don't read books, they just go to work, they don't listen to anybody else, and they come home and they watch a football game or a baseball game. The people who are going to move forward in life are the people who are reading and thinking and asking questions. And with those of us in Readers and Writers Book Club, we are here. And if you take a look at the bottom of my picture here, my portrait here, you can see that's my email. And it doesn't bother me if you ask a question that has nothing to do with Readers and Writers Book Club, because I will respond.
I'm with you, Steve. I love to hear from readers. I really, really do. It helps you become a better writer sometimes. And, you know, the book club says you gain more intelligence by being a reader. I tell you what, walk in our shoes. Every book that I've written, I've had to do research on a topic that I didn't know much about. And so you just learn a lot.
I think you said that, Victoria, is that your book, you want to talk with people because it gives you ideas. You find out about other horse stories or owner stories that lead you to more horses. And I know, Steve, you've written so many different varieties and types of books like Carl has, is that you're interested in so many different little things, and then you just learn more and more about it. You know, and that is very intriguing for readers to kind of want to know why your interest went that way or this way on the different subjects you write on.
You review books. I've been reviewing books for a long time, and I can tell you, if you're a reader, what happens is the number of books that are out there is tremendous, but they're all the same, especially the murder mysteries. Murder mysteries show up, I don't even bother to read them anymore, because all they're doing is changing the name and changing the city and changing the circumstance, and everything else is the same. You talk about readers and writers, we are all over the board. It's quality work, and you can find horses, you can find dogs, impossible crimes, you can find dragons, you can find very scary stories that you do not want to read before you go to bed. But you've got them at your fingertips. And that's the important thing. You don't have to drive down to the library and dig through books. You can just click on your computer, and there they are.
But also can order actual hard physical books, because I'm one of those readers where I like to hold the book in my hands. I mean, the smell of a new book is just wonderful.
Especially when your name's on the cover that says you wrote it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That makes it even better, yeah.
Oh, that's even better. But yeah, I'm kind of with you. I've sat here and read on the screen until my eyes were going like this and read books, but it's more comfortable to get into the recliner, put your feet up, open that book, settle in, have your little glass of wine maybe, and read. That's kind of fun.
The most thoughtful gift that you can give anyone, I think, is a book that you chose for them because you feel that this would be one that they would really love. And on Author Masterminds, the variety, the genres are endless. Everyone could find what they're looking for there. And Christmas is coming around, and a great family tradition is to give a book, a real book, like we were just talking about, that you hold in your hand and cherish and maybe pass on to someone else.
Right.
It's that gift that keeps on giving. It's a gift that is not made of plastic and wears out or has little value after a few minutes of interaction with it. It is a lasting gift with lots of pleasure.
Anything that you put into your mind is there forever. And anything that you put into your mind links with other things that you have no idea what is going on in your mind. You know, I mean, I do short stories, and all of a sudden I'm very shocked at what comes out on those short stories. There's short stories, people told me a funny joke 88 years ago, and I'm not that old. And it appears and it fits. Why does it fit? I have no idea, but I'm lucky because I remembered that short story. I remembered that joke, and it's been in there for all that time. And it just connects, especially if you want to be a public speaker or something like that. You're going to have material that sounds good rather than, thank you very much for being here.
Well, you know, Steve, mentioning that, I have oh, most of my friends are ones I met either even back to grade school or high school. And I had lunch with one of my friends I knew in like 3rd grade or 4th grade, and we've stayed in touch. And she has a twin. Well, when she and I went to lunch at Lucky Wishbone, which most of you may know what that is. Anyway, she handed me a book and she said, oh, my sister was going through all her books and she found this. Well, it was a book I had loaned her sister when, you know, we were probably 12 or 13 years old. It had my name in it. And so this is like a 50-plus-year-old book that, I mean, that was just so special. I mean, it had just my name in it, but it was so special to kind of have that memory and connection come back. So now I got to reread that book. I think it was by Dorothy Eden, who was a Victoria Holt. There was a couple of authors I really enjoyed when I was a kid. They were kind of mystery romance, Victorian, that kind of thing. And so I'm looking forward to rereading that book and wonder if I'll still like it. But that was just something really unique that I enjoyed, getting that book back after decades.
I'd like to compliment each of the readers and writers book club or author mastermind members, not only those that are here today, but those that are not here today. And one of the things that you've talked about and that Steve mentioned in the script is that every word you read changes your life. And I compliment the author mastermind members because they don't write bad language nor sexual content. And so anyone can read your books and not have something in their mind that they would rather not have. So I appreciate that.
I really agree with that, Evan.
Yeah, and I agree. That makes it also very easy for me to recommend it to, you know, my circle of people, because I am a devout Christian, and I don't get out much since I'm retired, and just most of the people I know, you know, have that, you know, there's Christianity, and I'm not worried about recommending any of the books by these authors, because I know that even though there's danger, even though there's supernatural things, none of it is, like you said, Evan, bad language or things that, you know, would really bother or insult people's morality or anything about them. So I agree with you. That's very, very important.
Joanna Onanik, who I really like, she's with us a lot. I really like this lady. And she's thanking us for having these meetings and inviting the book club members to join us online, which we do. She's saying, surely I'm not the only member here today. I don't know if she is or not, so I'm putting out the word. I've done it in the comments, but does anyone have a question of the authors that are out there kind of feeling shy, maybe? It's easy to feel shy. Please don't. We answer all questions.
This is just an ongoing conversation, you know, and anybody that's willing, anybody that wants to participate can. You can send him to chat. You can contact us by email. You can, you know, jump online and ask a question. This is your moment, particularly if you're a writer and you're looking for some ideas to go ahead and make your writing better. We're here for you.
That makes me come to Author Masterminds itself, guys. When you just said that, that was a great lead in, Steve.
Right.
I was thinking about that because Author Masterminds has kept me going when I didn't think I could. And literally this group of authors welcomes other authors that they have to go through a process, but we surely welcome other authors to join us. It's a lonely business writing. We don't, you know, you don't sit down with office people and write a book. You literally sit in your own office and write a book and hope that, you know, it'll come out and that you don't go stir crazy while you're doing it. Anyway, so, or get too involved and not realize it's 4 o'clock in the morning, you know.
Well, we all support each other in
Yes, we do.
getting the word out about the work that we've done in getting a book published too. And, you know, we're happy to have new authors join us, and we can share what information we've learned, and would like to know what they've learned, you know, and by working together, I think we do a much better job than individually working by yourself.
The magic word is community. We are a community.
Yes.
When you're in a community, that means that every time you're doing something for you, you're doing something for everybody.
Mhm.
I go out and help somebody by writing a press release or something like that. If it draws people to author masterminds, they're going to see my books too. So by helping somebody else, I'm helping myself. And it's a great attitude to have, is because that's the way a community, a village moves forward, is by everybody participating.
Mhm.
You know, I was getting ready for the meeting today. I thought, I wonder if there'd be an interest or opportunity to show the little video that we made about author masterminds. And I think Mary Ann and Steve, others have talked about it. Maybe we could, that would be an opportunity. And so I'm going to do it. Listen to this and watch, and let's see what we've got, and then you can make comment on it.
People who read lead. Every page you read changes you, and every book you read changes the world. People who read are a community of knowledge because they share what they have learned. With the internet, these new communities are emerging. A good example is Author Masterminds, a group of serious and dedicated authors offering fiction and nonfiction, adventure and mystery, faith and animal adventure in one URL. Even better, you can read portions of any book in this virtual library. Author Masterminds connects readers and authors in new, unique ways, including a website, social media, along with free short stories if you are pressed for time, and even one-on-one links to the authors. Welcome to the new age of books, where every reader is a friend and every author is approachable.
There you have it.
Every
I
word
like that.
true.
If
That
you're
about
looking-
sums it up. You know, I'd love to hear from people that read my work.
if you're a writer,
Absolutely.
if you're a writer, you should be contacting us, because we will answer what your questions are. I'll have you know that I went through years where I was be sending my queries out to publishers, and ideas out. And most of the time I got a generic letter back that says, "Thank you very much, don't bother us again." And I've been that for a long time with Author Masterminds and dealing with these people here. When I have a question to anybody here, I send them an email, and they're honest. They'll tell you exactly what it's like, and that's what we are. So if you're a writer and you have a question, shoot us an email. You may not
Yeah.
like our answer, but it will be an honest one.
Absolutely.
And every author loves to hear from people that read their books. If you want to talk about one of my books, I would love to sit down with you and talk with you
Yeah.
any way you want to.
And we don't even have to go all the way to Talkeetna to do it.
That's right. You can do it right
No.
at your desk.
No, but Talkeetna
In your
is
PJs.
a place if you want to come and visit.
Visit. You definitely want to visit, but living there is a little different.
I think it's very quaint and pretty.
Until about October 1st.
Well, I
I've
was going to say,
survived many winters here. I'll survive another one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
The real-
Talkeetna is about as opposite as you get from where I live.
The railroad goes through there all winter, doesn't it, Sil?
Yes, it does. Once a week instead of every day.
I'm very, very pleased to live in Anchorage, where we only get snow is deep enough that you can shovel it.
Well, we've had a few that have challenged that, but
Yeah.
not too many. If you've lived here long enough, you
Yeah.
Well, I remember the storm of 2008 where I live, and we had 32 inches of snow. We're not prepared for that. We don't have snow shovels.
2021, where I live, we had a pool for a skating rink. Yeah.
I can see that this conversation about readers and writers, author masterminds and books is wearing out because we're getting a little astray of that.
Crack.
The thing that I was wondering about and thinking about is, and so I got prepared for that, is that I think every one of the author mastermind members have a book trailer, a little video about one or more of their books. And people love those that see it. It just happens that not many get a chance to see it, not as many as we'd like. And so anyway, I just thought maybe I'd just show you one that just as an example. And since Steve is here, and that way we'll talk about his book. This is just an example. So I'll see if I can do that. Okay, Steve, here it is.
Okay.
He was Alaska's clown prince and the craziest pilot in the world. That's what the Saturday Evening Post called him, and he deserved the title. He's the only pilot on Earth to have a polar bear get loose in his bush plane. He also survived more crashes than any other pilot on Earth, some of them on purpose. Archie Ferguson was the last of the original fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants Alaska bush pilots. He flew out of Kotzebue, 35 miles north of the Arctic Circle, and he flew in the days when navigation equipment was a handheld compass. The weather was the worst in the world, and the largest city had 3,000 people. He started flying in the 1920s when you fueled your plane from a wooden crate, and as Archie often said, anytime I'm in the air, it's an emergency. What made him Alaska's crown prince was the Arctic bump. Whenever he came to the Arctic Circle with passengers, he would secretly turn off his fuel and his plane would fall hundreds of feet with Archie yelling, "There's no air on the Arctic Circle!" Today, airlines flying over the Arctic Circle bump in memory of Archie and his antics. Archie Ferguson was a character con man of the Arctic, and his biography captures the transition of Alaska's Arctic from a frontier to a modern community. It's a snapshot of a time and place that no longer exists. So, buckle up for the terror, humor, and history of Archie Ferguson, Alaska's clown prince and the craziest pilot in the world. Archie Ferguson is available through Author Masterminds, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and wherever good books are sold. Archie Ferguson is a Readers and Writers Book Club selection.
Well, I love that. And the most important thing to say about that is it is different. It is different. No one has done anything on Archie. No one has done anything on the con men of the Arctic. So what'll happen is when you read the book, you're not only getting to be able to laugh at a guy that can get a polar bear to get loose in his plane, but you're also looking at a piece of history. And the Arctic is not now what it was when he died in 1960. The Arctic is completely changed. And the book is a snapshot of what it was before television, before radio. And when you had, like you said, because they used to fuel airplanes out of boxes.
Hey, Steve, I'm sold. How can I get a signed copy from Stephen Levi? I want one.
That's an excellent point that we haven't brought up. If you buy a book for Author Masterminds, when you buy the book, tell them you want it signed. And what will happen is Author Mastermind sends the book to me, I sign it, and I send it to you. So if you want a signed book, buy it through Readers and Writers, buy it through Author Masterminds, and specifically state that you want a signature. And the signature book will come with my signature. And if you have something special you want me to write into it, make sure you tell me so I can put it in. But you can't get that with Amazon. You can't even get that with any of our local bookstore.
No, sometimes I've had people order books from me because they wanted them for their granddaughter for her birthday or something. And I'm able to put in her name and her birth date and things like that, and get her a signed copy of the book, which becomes kind of something like a keepsake for that child.
Yeah,
Thank
I'd like to get that book because my father is he worked for United Airlines as a mechanic years and years and years ago, not for very long, but it was a very interesting part of his life. And he was in the Navy. And so planes, aircraft are extremely interesting to him. So I'm really got to get that book, have you sign it and send it to him. And he loves to read. I think he would enjoy that very much. So you'll be hearing from me.
That sounds good, Rebecca. Well, we're running a little bit out of time, but so I'd like to just kind of go around the room again and just take maybe a minute for each of us to just kind of say goodbye and see you next week or next month. So let's just start kind of the way we started earlier. If you can remember the order in which you started, I think we started with Mary Flint, Mary and Paul, and then Victoria, Valerie, Rebecca, and Steve, and then I'll finish up.
Don't forget Sil.
Oh, go ahead, forget me.
Oh.
And Mary, unmute.
I think, we've talked a lot about books making us smarter, and while I would agree books do make us smarter, I think the main thing I've gotten from books in my life is hard and we all need a break sometimes. And I always found that break through books, I don't know how reading about dragons or knights and castles is going to make me smarter, but it's going to give me a break from reality. And one of my favorite things about being an author now is that I get to give people that break. I get to give people that escape that I always looked for. I think that's one of the greatest powers that books have.
I don't think following Mary is always a good idea. She's just right on. That's exactly how I feel. I started writing books because nobody was writing very much of what I wrote. And I love the supernatural, and I love the battle between good and evil. And I love Christ, and therefore they all come together in my books. And people look at me cockeyed because I'm a Christian and I write really scary books. And I'm like, yeah, well, they go together beautifully. Have you read the Bible? I mean, really, this is a scary book. And it talks about these things. And so literally, I don't know, I'm just thrilled not only to write what I love, but to be with people who, even if they don't want to read what I write, do read it and actually recommend it to others. I mean, that amazes me. I've had people read my books who have never enjoyed my kind of fiction and actually read all 4 of them. And I really love that. So this is a great place to be. And I just want to hear more from our readers too, about what they think.
I'm kind of with you. I read everything that had a horse in it or on it. And I cleaned out the public library. I cleaned out the school library. And, if you go looking for them now, you can hardly find any. So I know the last person to do a series of books about Arabian horses in particular, which, my favorite, was Walter Varley. He was writing in 1940. That was before I was born. And I'm old. So I figured it was high time somebody got busy and did that. So it's kind of fun, and it means a lot to me. It's been more than, it's one of those things. I always wanted to write a book, and here it is. I have 7 published now, and it's and I'm proud of them because I didn't put anything in there that. There's some pretty top stuff in there, but there's nothing I'm ashamed of. And I hope people will communicate with me. I'd love to hear horse stories. That's what keeps me going.
Well, I have to say that my first book came about because I couldn't find anything written about it as well. And so from the first book to the third book, and I'm involved with this great group called Author Masterminds, and the Readers and Writers Book Club has been just a wonderful journey. One of the things that as a book club, we are is flexible. We have tried many things to throw some excitement into the book club to entice people to come. And right now we're doing serialization. So you can, read the book one chapter at a time. And we're just hoping that you enjoy it as much as we enjoy, putting it out there for you. Thank you.
Well, we're not alone. We're not alone in the universe. And I love science fiction and fantasy, but I've also had a fabulous life up here in Alaska. And it gave me the opportunity to combine both and give you the most unique sci-fi fantasy stories ever set here in Alaska in modern contemporary times. I love sharing that with people. I love people reading them and getting excited about them. Thank you, Victoria, over and over again. And it's just wonderful to be in this group and to be able to share with everyone what we're all doing.
Well, I want to let you know that I wrote my first book in 1973, which was long before anybody here was born. And the most important thing for me in my writing is to make sure that every book that I write is completely different than every other book that I've ever read and any book that I've already done. Because I am absolutely bored to tears on genre books and the average books. They just, it's just not there. And the most important thing about Author Masterminds is everybody in Author Masterminds is working on coming up with a great book that's completely different than anything that's been done before. So if you want a normal book, please go to the library, go to the bookstore, because you're not going to find it in Readers and Writers, and you're not going to find it in Author Masterminds. If you're looking for a good book that is different, then this is the place to be.
Thanks, Steve. Rebecca?
I really resonate with what Mary Flint said, is that, life is hard and that the books you read can be your escape. They can also help you experience things that are hard, that you don't have to go through them yourself and learn compassion. I also agree with the other authors that say, they didn't find what they wanted to read, so they needed to write it themselves. And like Steve said, wanting something unique because that could draw people in. And so the devotional I wrote is because I didn't find that kind of devotional that I was looking for. It took me 30 years to write it, but all along those years, I was trying to find something that could feed my soul. And it turns out that my book is what really fed my soul those times. So that's what I'm trying to do, is write what feeds the soul of people that experience things like I do. And I think that's, even though people in this group have different reasons for writing and different genres, we can all still encourage each other to keep that desire from dying from the hardships of being a writer who's alone or going through other difficulties. So I just really appreciate this group and the club and just the determination that we build up in each other to share our writing with readers and to continue being readers that grow with all the things that our other co-readers or co-writers are doing. So anyways, that's how I feel.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you all. for being here. Stick around for just a second, you Author Mastermind members. I want to say goodbye to the Facebook Live folks, and then we could just say goodbye to you in just a second too. So anyway, we'll say to the Facebook Live memberships of the Readers and Writers Book Club and authors and others, we'll see you the last Tuesday of September, same time, same place, where every reader is a friend and every author is approachable. So anyway, it's been fun being here today, but in the meantime, keep in touch.